Whom the Gods Fear. By J. Wdowski. Chapter 40. It was not till the next morning that Glen finally received a communication from Captain Ruble. "What is your status? Are your repairs done yet?" "No, Mr. Yeager. We finally only got the communications re-established. We had to cannibalize it for components to repair the link to the backup memory banks. Once we had that, we were able to have the 3D printers manufacture new parts to get the communications up and running again." "How long will it take for you to make the parts we need to repair the shuttles and send them down to us?" "We still need to get our sensors up and navigation. Once we have them up and running, we will be able to send down your needed parts, but it is going to take time for us to manufacture the parts those systems need, and of course the parts you will need. Can you at least give us support with the rail cannon?" "Not without sensors, navigation, and weapons control." "I understand." Glen spoke to Ruble's image on the rolled-out flexible screen of his 4-armcom. "How long will those repairs take?" Ruble's expression was not good. "Wdowski has informed me we do not have enough raw material to make the parts needed to repair the weapons control and/or the parts for the shuttles. Once we have navigation and sensors up and running, we can gather more raw material from one of the smaller low-G moons with our mining bots." "Meaning you will have to break orbit?" "Yes, Mr. Yeager. And we still are far from enough material to manufacture the parts needed for the hyperdrive engines. We have sublight, both fusion reactors are functioning, life support, and now communications. Once sensors and navigation are up and running, we can find a meteor for our needed raw materials." "Why not this moon? Why can't you just find what you need here?" "Wdowski thinks it may take too long to search the surface for the elements we need, and if we do find them, we may have to drill deep to access them. There's also the issue that the probes will not have the ability to lift off enough raw materials back into orbit that we will need for all our repairs. He thinks it will be much faster if we mine one of the much smaller low-G moons orbiting this gas giant. We just need to move alongside one, have a work bot cut off a piece, and then have the bot tug it close enough to use our gravitation guidance system to pull it into the hangar bay. A large chunk of one of those captured asteroids should be more than enough raw material for us to make all the components needed for our repairs, with more to spare." "Understood. Get on it, Captain Ruble." "Aye, Mr. Yeager." Glen's 4-armcom display screen went blank and automatically rolled back up around his left forearm. When evening fell on the 4th night since Demi's first attack, Glen, Mayhan, Dr. Hogan, and A-Roth and his family gathered around the well, in between the farmhouse and the barn. "Is your father sure he wants to do this?" "Yes, Dorwa, he is very sure." Flora answered Glen as her father prepared to descend into the well. "Our well taps into an underground stream. It leads to the south. There is an opening deep in the woods where the stream surfaces." "How does he know this?" and inquired. "My father grew up on this farm. Before his 20th cycle, he had discovered the cave in the woods that the stream emerged from. He followed the stream deep underground. He did not see light again until he realized he was standing under our family well." "Is he sure the stream surfaces will behind the Amphithar lines?" Mayhan asked as Stovall showed A-Roth how to use the 4-armcom for communications and for illumination. "From the images you had shown him where the camps are, he is confident the opening is beyond their camps deep in the woods. From there he will circle around to the northern camps. He will attempt to infiltrate the camp to view what is under those large tents." Her father, wearing black clothing, had his face blackened with a mixture of charcoal dust and mud, turned to his daughter and spoke. "What is he saying?" "He says there is no more time for talk. He must go now. He needs to hurry so he can make his way to the northern camp before sunrise," the young alien girl answered. She then went and hugged her father. Each of his wives gave him passionate kisses goodbye. Her little sister was already asleep safe in the cellar. It had been made into their new bedrooms. The Marines were still stationed on the top floor of their home, keeping a vigil watch in case Demi attempted a night assault. A-Roth, with human-made spider silk rope tied around his waist, was lowered down into the well by several A-Urshwa. The well was pitch black with only his 4-armcom illuminating his way down the well. A soft splash signaled to them all that he had finally reached the bottom. Waist deep in the cold underground stream, he untied himself and stretched out his left arm to allow his 4-armcom's light beam to light his way down the cavern. The stream flowed southwest from the northeastern mountains. Over time, it had hollowed out a large enough cavern to allow A-Roth to stand upright. He looked up the well one last time and called up to his family, telling them he was okay and will return soon. Flowara's father then disappeared from their sight as he followed the flow of the underground stream. Morning came, and there was no word from A-Roth. They had not heard from him since he reported that he had emerged from the cavern a half-hour after he had descended into the well. Glen feared the worst for Flowara's father. "Mr. Yeager, the satellites have picked up some interesting movement." Mahan got Glen's full attention. "It is from the capital city. 3 large wagons have left there this morning. They are moving as fast as they can. They are even pulling spare draft animals alongside them. An Amphithar mounted unit is escorting them." "What are they hauling?" "The wagons are covered and shielded from all our sensors: infrared, ultraviolet, X-ray, gravity measurement, and radiation. We don't know what is in them. The gravity measurement instruments were able to analyze the tracks the carts are making. Whatever it is heavier than the common loads carts pull on that road. If they keep up at their present rate of travel, they should be arriving here in 3 days or less." "Are they still hauling lumber under those large tents to the north of us?" "No, Mr. Yeager. But the amplified sound detectors in our helmets can easily pick up the sounds of hammering and sawing beyond the North Ridge. We still do not know what they could be building out of wood. Captain Demi must know that pulse rifles have an accurate range of 2,000 yards. Catapults, even in this lower gravity, should have a range of only 600 or 700 yards at best." Glen said, realizing that medieval catapults back on the Earth would have a range of only 400 to 500 yards in 1G. "We can set them ablaze way before they could ever position them close enough to hit us. Why construct catapults?" Mahan responded. "I have to admit he has me puzzled." Glen commented, "Perhaps they are building tunnels? Trying to dig right under our kill zone and undermine our walls? They might be using the lumber to shore up their tunnel walls." And suggested, "That sounds reasonable, Dr. Hogan, but how long would it take them to dig to our lines from that far out? Without modern digging machinery? Although, he does have other work bots." Mahan pointed out, "They are Starship repair bots. They are not designed for labor-intensive mining." Glen dismissed the idea. If he is digging, he would have to use the Amphithars with old-fashioned picks and shovels. Tunnels are not practical. It would take them a month or more to reach our lines. I am sure he is aware the Polo would have all her repairs done way before that. I do not think he is digging a tunnel. Besides, Dr. Hogan, our helmets would pick up the sound of digging. Also, the gravitational instruments on our satellites would detect any underground tunnels." "How is that?" "The gravity sensors are sensitive enough to measure the difference in mass that underground features would create." Glen explained, "It is actually an old technique used in the earlier part of this century by American spy satellites to discover underground bunkers and facilities." "If he's not building catapults or digging a tunnel, what could he be building with so much lumber?" asked Anne. "I really don't know, but I am confident that whatever is being hauled in those fast-moving wagons are the key." Dr. Benjamin, honest the mission's material technology specialist, approached Glen and Mahan. "Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to report to you about the assignment you gave me. About increasing the recharging speed of the plasma rifle energy clips." "Yes, Dr. Honest. Any progress in that?" Glen asked the balding middle-aged scientist with dark olive skin and a dark thick mustache that resembled a giant black caterpillar resting upon his upper lip. "I am sorry to say that there are no means in speeding up the recharging time of the energy clips. I have some theories how we might be able to do it, but we lack the elements to test my theories. I do, though, have a suggestion in improving our defenses." "Yes." Glen encouraged the doctor, who seemed a bit nervous. "I think we can electrify the barbed wire as an additional barrier from any additional alien attacks. The fusion generators are generating more than enough power to do so, and still have more than enough power to spare for all our other needs and the recharging of plasma rifle clips." "That is a very good idea. It would also prevent or at least hamper greatly Demi using wire cutters to cut through the wire, yes?" Glen inquired. "If he is not expecting the wire to be electrified, yes, it should. If he does suspect, he could fashion wire cutters with insulated handles to prevent the users from being electrified," explained Dr. Honest. Glen was excited with the idea. I understand that electrified wire will not hold him back indefinitely, but it is a good enough idea to slow down their assault and give our rifles time to receive recharged energy clips. That is what I was thinking, Mr. Yeager. It should also take out perhaps one line of their assaulting troops. Good work, Dr. Honest. Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Honest seemed relieved that Yeager did not make him feel guilty for failing in the recharging assignment. I will get right on it, Mr. Yeager. Dr. Honest was about to leave. Wait one moment, Doctor. I understand that with our limited resources you are unable to speed up the recharging process, but is there any way to at least increase the capacity of plasma energy clips? Or to manufacture additional makeshift energy clips? I had thought of that already, Mr. Yeager, but I am sorry to report there isn't. We just don't have the right elements or 3D printers to manufacture more energy clips. Honest went to work on electrifying the inner wire. Glen turned to Captain Mahan to continue their morning briefing. Mahan held his tactical helmet under his left arm and had his pulse rifle slung over his right shoulder. You're expecting them to attack this morning? Glen asked. No, Mr. Yeager. Their numbers have swollen to over 20,000, but there is at least another 30,000 en route towards us. I don't think Demi will try another assault until he is up to his full strength. Concerned, Glen asked, how long until he is? Our estimates are they will assemble here within the next 2 to 3 days. That's soon. They are all making a forced march. I am guessing once they do arrive, he will give them time to get fully rested before making another assault. At least 8 to 10 hours after his final forces do arrive. Demi is a starship captain. Are you sure he will understand the need to give his troops the needed time to fully rest before attacking? Anne asked. Demi may not have studied military science, but he is one of the best self-taught students of history I know. Glen answered. He will not throw them into battle prematurely, unless he feels it is absolutely necessary, because time is against him. I would do the same, answered Mahan. Perhaps we can somehow fool him to think he is running out of time and force him to attack us before he has all his forces assembled and rested? Glen hypothesized. Aye, Mr. Yeager. It would also give us the opportunity to cut down his numbers some more before he can really hit us with all his strength, responded Mahan. How? Anne asked. Their briefing was interrupted by a call on Glen's four-arm-com. Glen was hoping it was A-Roth finally reaching them, letting him know that he was safe. The nanotech paper-thin flexible screen unrolled from his forearm, and Rubel's image appeared upon it. We have completed our repairs on our sensors, navigation, and helm. We will be leaving orbit in the next hour to find a rock we can mine for additional raw materials. When do you expect to return? It will be at least half a day or more to find a suitable captured asteroid in orbit that is small enough with the right resources we can cut a chunk off. We then need to wrangle it safely into our hangar bay, where we can start extracting the needed raw materials. Finding the right chunk of rock could be a 2 to 4 days search. Extracting the raw materials another day or 2. Heading back to you could take a day or 2, depending on how far out we have to go to find the right rock. Manufacturing the parts could take the 3D printers 2 to 3 days, actual repairs another day or 2. We, of course, could get started with material processing while en route back to you. You still do not have weapons control. We still need parts for that, and of course the hyper-engines. Once we do have the raw materials, I will make repairing weapons control our first priority. Once they are up and running, we can give you fire support against anything Captain Demi may throw at you. I figure our next priority should be the parts you need for the shuttles. After that, we will begin manufacturing the needed components for repairing our hyper-engines. Very well, Captain. Try to get back to us as soon as possible. The safety of Apollo has to remain your first priority. Don't cut corners to speed up the process in wrangling in a chunk of rock. Understood. One other thing, since we have finally gotten sensors up again, we have noted massive movement to your location. Yes, we are aware we have been able to maintain our links with the satellite grid. Are you also aware that the countryside, over 100 miles in all directions from your location, has been picked clean of all crops and livestock? I am. Demi has a growing army to feed. Are you still sure you don't want me cutting corners to get back to you as soon as possible? I am sure I don't want you taking any unnecessary risks that may cause you further delays in coming to our aid. Rubel did not seem in full agreement with Glen, but acknowledged Glen's wishes. One more thing before you leave orbit. Yes. Can you spare 2 probes to drop down to us? Yes, but as I said, we have not manufactured any of your needed parts for the shuttles yet. Rubel replied. I am aware of that, Captain, but Demi is not. I, Mr. Yeager. Rubel signed off. You're going to bluff Demi to think we are getting our needed parts? Asked Mahan. Perhaps it will be enough to force him to make a premature attack on us. Let him feel the pressure of the clock ticking. Good idea. He will either attack before he has his full force, or at least not give his fully assembled force the time they need to rest before they make their assault. That is what I am hoping, although it would be better if the Polo could return with working rail cannons before he makes his next assault. Glen answered, Do you think they can get back here in time? Anne asked, I am not sure of anything, Anne. So, we need to prepare better to hold off another attack. Having him attack us not at his full strength may help our situation. Would it be better to figure out a way to delay him attacking us? To give the Polo time to return? She stated, I do not see how we can do that, Dr. Hogan. Captain Mahan answered her, his full forces will be here in only 2 to 3 days. 8 to 10 hours of rest will give them more than enough time to be at full strength to make their assault. If they attack us with 50,000 fully rested Amphithars, we'll only be able to take out another 1,000 before they hit the outer wire, giving them at least 49,000 to continue their assault. The mine field may take a few hundred more. Glen added, electrifying the inner wire, the ditch with the punji sticks, our earthen walls, perhaps if we are lucky, it will slow them up enough that we can take out another 3 to 4,000 more. Captain Mahan calculated their chances. I see what you mean, and figured the math in her head based on Captain Mahan's predictions of the coming assault. We would still be facing at least 45,000 after they get through all our obstacles. At that time, our only option is to fall back into the stone-walled farmhouse and barn. Hold them off from those positions as long as we can. After explaining their dire situation to her, she wished he had not. She was clearly frightened with the realization of the opposition they were up against. Do we have any hope? She asked. If they attack us tired or not at full strength, we may be able to hold them off long enough for the Polo to return to give us orbital support with the rail cannons. Glen tried not to demoralize her too much. And I want you to prepare a travel kit. What for? If they do get through or over those walls, I want you to go down the well and escape through the tunnel into the woods. I told you before I am not leaving you.